Welcome to the Awakened Goddess Show, your source for inspiration, wisdom, and personal discovery. The place to learn from a diverse mix of mentors, metaphysical experts, spiritual leaders, and best-selling authors from around the world. I'm Angela Wilkinson, attraction coach and founder of The Goddess Next Door. Join me as I explore the minds of my masterful guests while they share powerful insights and easy-to-use tools you can start using right away. Now, let's tap into the energy of the Awakened Goddess and be enlightened by today's guest. Hey everyone, I'm your host, Angela Wilkinson, and welcome to this episode of the Awakened Goddess Show. Dr. Kevin Kita combines his intuition with his knowledge of chiropractic and a variety of other techniques to offer us a fascinating look at the connection between our minds and our bodies. He is well known among his patients for his compassion, wisdom, astonishing intuition, and non-invasive chiropractic technique. Dr. Kita is an award-winning author, international speaker, teacher, and blogger. Today, Kevin and I talk about healing versus sickness and his transformative book, Healing Journeys, Stories of Mind, Body, and Spirit. But before I talk with Dr. Kita, do you desire a deeper understanding of your spirituality? How about the metaphysical world? And what about the laws of the universe? In the Spark Spiritual Academy, we explore metaphysical and lifestyle topics where we give you the keys in easy-to-use, bite-sized pieces to create the life you want. Spark Spiritual Academy offers a monthly collection of inspiring, thought-provoking information in one convenient place. Each month, you'll get a new collection of bonus material from the Awakened Goddess Show experts. You'll also get journal exercises, meditations, and resources to put into practice and create quantum leaps forward in your life. Join us today and ignite your brilliance within. See you there. Well, welcome, Kevin, to the Awakened Goddess Show. I am so happy to have you joining me today to talk about our health and how even medical tests cannot detect when our health is at risk. So welcome.
Thanks a lot for having me today. Really appreciate the time that you're taking out to interview me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So first off, why did you become a chiropractor? Let's start there.
Well, like any other things that happen in life, it was really by accident. I mean, literally by accident. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't know this. I actually work for a major hotel chain, and I actually have a culinary degree. I actually cooked in different restaurants. But one day, leaving my job from the hotel, I was driving down the road, and this truck hit a car and hit my car.
Oh, goodness.
And then my car hit one of those cement barriers. And I'm like going, oh my God, thank God I'm alive. And then I went to the side, the car could drive, and I got to the shoulder, and the policeman came and goes, "You all right?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm fine," because I could still walk and everything was fine. Mm-hmm. But then what happened was about 3 weeks later, I was at my job, and I had excruciating shoulder pain and a headache. I mean, it was so bad that, I never really get sick or have any injuries. But about 3 weeks later, it was a Saturday afternoon, and I actually had to leave my work early. And as soon as I got home, I literally just went right to bed. I was laying in bed, but I wasn't laying in bed sleeping. I was laying in bed moaning and groaning. I was in a lot of pain. And I played sports, a lot of sports. I was in so much pain. And my wife was listening. She's a nurse, and she was listening to. She goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I go, "I'm just in a lot of pain." She was like checking my vitals and this and that. She thought I had a stroke. And I go, "No, I'm just in a lot of pain."
Yeah. So
that was Saturday, and I didn't sleep at all. And then Sunday morning, I called up my medical doctor, and she said, come to my office, this emergency office that she had. So I went there. Couldn't drive. I actually had to recline my seat back all the way flat.
Oh my goodness.
And, that's how much pain I was in. And so I get to the office, and it wasn't actually my family doctor. It was this other doctor that was filling in. So he's checking everything, checking my pulse, my blood pressure, he's hitting all my reflexes, looking at my eyes, looking down my throat, the ears, every test. So after about 45 minutes, I said to him, I go, so what's wrong with me? Mm-hmm. And he goes, nothing. And I go, what do you mean nothing? I am in excruciating pain. I mean, I could barely breathe.
Yeah.
So he gives me a prescription. I look at the prescription. I go, these are really strong painkillers. So got it filled, and I never really take any prescription drugs. But I took 2 of them, and it didn't touch this pain at all. I mean, the next day, I actually had to go back to work, and the pain was slightly better, so I could go back to work. But I said, I can't live like this. Mm-hmm. And then my wife goes, why don't you go see a chiropractor? And I'm like going, why in the world would I ever go see a chiropractor?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I thought, I thought a chiropractor was somebody that like looked at your feet.
Oh.
She's a podiatrist, but anyway, right. That's how much I knew about it.
Yeah.
But I was in so much pain, I go, this is desperate. I'm going to go see this chiropractor. So anyway, went to this chiropractor, and it just so happens to be this person, Dr. Arnaud Bernier, who's actually considered one of the better chiropractors in the world. Mm. And he happens to live in this pretty much the same town as me. I mean, his practice. Yeah. And so I go in there, he adjusts me, and I go, oh my God, I feel so much better. So as time went on, he kept adjusting me, and he taught me what chiropractic was about. And I didn't really like the job that I had because it's very, very stressful. If you ever worked in hotel or restaurants, super stressful. I had about 50 people that I was in charge of. Yeah. And I said, I need a career change. Yeah. And I was, I think I was like 30 years old. 34 years, about 32 years old. So drastic change. Yeah. So, and this person, Arno, had said, oh, why don't you become a chiropractor? And I go, I really thought of that. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that'll probably take, a couple weekends or a month to, get my chiropractic certification or whatever. So then, because that's what I thought. Yeah. And then I looked into it, and I'm going, oh, no, you need to take 2 years of prerequisites, like pre-med type courses, and then you take 3.5 years of the chiropractic school. So it's actually about 6 years. So I'm like going, oh, well, I was really into what the chiropractic message is about. So I went back to school, took all the courses, and then, pretty much 5 years later, I became a chiropractor. And it's a lot more difficult than what people think. It's in order to become a chiropractor, you actually have to pass 4 national boards, and each national board is spread out by 6 months. And each board, if you don't pass one, you have to retake it and wait 6 months. And each one is expensive. Yeah. So you have to take those 4 tests. Then you have to take your state licensing test. So it's really involved. But wow. After all that, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would never be talking to you. I know. Because, yeah. Just things happen, you know what I'm saying? And, exactly. And that's how I became a chiropractor, really by accident.
And it sounds like you've had a long journey since then, because you're considered like a chiropractor's chiropractor. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm on this now. The journey I'm on is just totally different from even my practice, because I've done a lot of different interviews. I've done so many other things that I would have never thought that would have even been thinking of, being interviewed, speaking engagements, writing a book, writing lots of different articles, and contributing to a lot of different health publications.
Yeah, interesting. So what makes you different from other chiropractors?
One thing is I use a very low force technique, and the technique is like the number one myth of chiropractic is that it's very painful and it's dangerous.
Dun dun dun. Cue the music.
Right, but what I do is such a low force. It literally, most people, I use an instrument and it's called an arthrostem. And this instrument is such a low force that most people will go, how are you going to adjust me with this thing? It feels like nothing. I go, trust me, it'll be the most powerful adjustment you ever get in your life. And the reason why is because this thing called the arthrostem, it pulsates at 12 to 14 times per second.
Wow.
And that is the equivalent frequency of what's called the Schumann frequency. I'm not sure if you know what the Schumann frequency is, but that's also known as the healing frequency.
Ah, excellent.
And the frequency of this instrument actually turns off the nociceptors. The nociceptors are a fancy word for pain receptors. So you won't feel pain from this adjustment. You might feel a little like a sore spot, but you won't feel pain. So with using this instrument and using my knowledge of chiropractic, I can gently just put the bone back into place without using a lot of force. And it's to the point where most, especially the men, because they want this heavy force, and I go, you don't need that. And those are the people that have the most powerful reaction to it, because I've had people that actually start breaking out in sweat. They start sweating because they're so locked up and all that heat comes out. I've had people where they felt nauseated or dizzy, and it's because all of a sudden their life force is turned on and their body's trying to react. It's kind of like rebooting the computer.
Oh, I love it. So
that's one of the main things that makes me different. The other thing is, I'm very intuitive. That's kind of like where my journey from about 8 or 9 years ago, all of a sudden, for some reason, I just started becoming a lot more intuitive. So with my intuition, I'm able to really find out the main cause of somebody's problem, not just, the symptoms, but really what's underneath the layers of somebody's body. I mean, we're all onions and we all have all these different layers. We, we'll have a physical layer, then we'll have usually an emotional or spiritual level underneath that. So with my intuition that I've started developing, I can really get deep into really the cause of what the problem is. Because most of the people that come in my office have a chronic illness or some chronic disease, or so-called disease, I should say.
Yeah, that's so true. And there's so many factors that can contribute to what happens in our bodies. I know that there's the emotional energy that we hold on to that can really wreak havoc in our bodies. And so it's awesome that you're tapping into that. And I love how you're talking about this device that you're using. It sounds like it's really resonating and working at the energy in your body. Am I understanding correctly?
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that makes me different, and this sounds very silly, is that I think most doctors or even healthcare practitioners, for that matter, really don't listen to the people that come in their office. And as soon as somebody comes to my office, a new patient, even somebody that comes in for adjustments later, I'm constantly listening to how they're talking, what they're saying, because that gives me clues. A lot of times that gives me clues on really what's going on in their life. And, because words, somebody once told me, what's the most powerful thing in the world? And I go, I don't know. And she goes, words. And I go, yeah, I've always, this person was like one of my mentors, and I always remember that, because words, how is the powerful? And she goes, well, remember, let there be light, and guess what happened? And that was just words, So I'm constantly listening to people that come in my office, and because a lot of times that gives me clues on really what's going on.
Yeah. Well, and I imagine you hear people's stories. Like when people are talking to you as a practitioner, they're telling you their story. And it seems like oftentimes we can get stuck in our own story, right? Do you find that?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. Yeah. You get stuck in our story. We all have these stories, and these stories are really, where are these stories created from? They're created from our ego, and not from our spirit, and not from our spiritual or our higher self. The other part of the story, our stories, is people tend to take ownership of it. So if I've had people that, I had somebody in my office recently, and I'm listening to this person, and she says to me, I'm just, I have this chronic fatigue. I'm just always tired.
Yeah.
And so I check her out, and I go, you know what? Just say I'm always full of energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because you take ownership of you always feel tired, you're always going to feel tired. And just by that shift in your words, you'll feel more energetic.
Yeah.
And this person did start feeling more energetic to the point where she goes, oh my gosh, now I'm going to have to work more.
Oh no, I think she missed the point.
And other people come in and they're depressed, and I said, if you keep taking ownership of that, I'm always depressed, or people will say, my depression just really, hurts my lifestyle, for instance. Mm-hmm. So, I listened to this person, I remember this one man, and I said, how much you paying for that depression? And he goes, what do you mean? It's kind of like a cable bill, right? A monthly bill, you're taking ownership of your depression. So how much are you paying for that? He goes, he's like listening to me, and he goes, yeah, you're right. I'm taking ownership of this depression. Mm-hmm. And as far as depression, at least what I've learned, there's two things that are common. Depression is caused by anger that's inwards, anger towards yourself.
Sure.
For some reason, for different reasons. And then the other thing, depression, I've seen in a lot of people, actually recently, I'd say in the past couple of years, is because a lot of times people lose their job, or or even retire for that matter, and they don't know what their next step is. Mm-hmm. A lot of times when people are in some sort of change or flux in their career, they get depressed because they don't know what to do next.
Mm-hmm. So do you think it's associated with our purpose, feeling purposeful in our life?
Definitely, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's as far as depression, it just comes down to a very simple thing. Well, all things come down to a very simple thing, and that is, you really have to love what you do. You always have to love. I have other healthcare practitioners come in, and they go, Dr. Kita, what should, can you help me out with, some technique or, some things, any tips you have? And I said, this might sound very simple and very silly, but every person, not just in your office, but every person you come in contact in your life, you need to show love and compassion to every person. And it might sound very simple, but it's very difficult once, if you're driving down the road and somebody's cutting you off and go, oh, I love you,
Yeah.
Somebody's giving you a hand signal out the car, oh, I still love you,
Uh-huh. I love you anyway, a-hole.
Right. Or somebody insults you. So, that's a big thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about the difference between healing and sickness. So how do you see the two?
Well, it's interesting because, I get asked, bunch of same type thing, different chiropractors, different healthcare practitioners. They go, what do you do when somebody comes in your office? And I said, well, first thing I do is I never look at them as somebody being broken. Mm-hmm. Because people forget that you're perfect and whole. Everybody is perfect and whole. And people forget that. That's what you're given, and that's what you should always have. Mm-hmm. The other reason why I do that is because when I view people as perfect and whole, I leave out my judgment. And judgment, as soon as you judge somebody, you really don't know what's going on. You don't know what's going on. And judgment, again, comes from the ego. And if you're in the ego state of mind, it's really going to block you from block myself and whoever else from seeing the true inner self of this person in front of you.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And healing, healing comes from, or heal comes from the Greek word halen, Haelen, and that means whole.
Whole.
So when somebody's healed, they're whole. So they're perfect, and they realize that they're whole, they're perfect and whole. But somebody that's sick, somebody might come in my office and complain about, say, migraine headaches or something. Mm-hmm. Well, that sickness is a separation from the whole.
Yes.
So my job is to find the cause of the separation. Mm-hmm. And that's what I've been working on, the past couple of years, to really work on that. And just to, like I said, view the person as perfect and whole. There's just something in their life and their lifestyle that is causing them to cause a separation and causing them not to feel right.
Yeah. As you're saying that, I can't help but think, kind of jokingly in my head, they're out of alignment, and not only their choices and kind of where they're going, they're out of alignment in their life, and it's reflecting in their body in some sort of misalignment, right? Subluxation,
right. Or mm-hmm. That's right. And because it doesn't have to be a physical thing. It doesn't have to be a nutritional deficiency. A lot of times it's something that's in their life emotionally, or in their relationship, that's causing a separation, and that separation then starts to show itself in the person's body. Mm-hmm. And also these chiropractors always know that I'm working on something. I'm not just, they go, oh, you're writing a new book. Well, I'm working on some other books, but they're asking me for technique tips. And I thought years ago, if I just memorized, all the anatomy books and all the physiology books and all these other healing techniques, that, I would be like the person, to go to, like, I would know everything. I would know everything, But what happened was, when I started reading all these books and starting to memorize everything, like going, you know what? That's not the way to do it. And the reason why is because it's coming from a total ego state of mind. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like how your instrument works, right? You're working at the vibrational level, and this is kind of like being almost like a channel, or you are being a channel of the information and allowing the life force energy to flow through you. You're like the conduit to create change in this person's body.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've actually been told that mm-hmm. for some reason.
Well, I believe that we all are channels of some sort.
I attract a lot. For some reason, I attract a lot of ministers and spiritual leader community spiritual leaders in my office. I don't know why. Maybe they want to save me or something. But
Yeah, I mean,
but they have told me exactly what you just said. They said, Dr. Keita, this is your gift, and you're a conduit. And the reason why you're able to accept this gift is because you're coming from a very spiritual level, and you're staying present. See, that's the other thing too. Intuition is inspiration. Inspiration is being present. Mm-hmm. Like when I get in my office, I'll get into my office. My hours start about 8:45. I'll be in my office a lot of times like 7:00, 7:15, and people go like, "What do you do?" And I go, I'm really meditating and calming myself down, getting my state of mind in the present state of mind, and dropping the ego, keeping the ego in check.
Yeah.
Because what I do, once you start getting that ego, you're not going to get the answers quickly. You're not going to help people out. Not necessarily that, I don't heal anybody, but I'm, the facilitator, the teacher. That's actually what doctor means. People don't really realize that doctor actually means teacher. So that's really what and that comes from the Latin word docere, which is to teach. And, I even ask some of the people that come in, because they've seen a lot of other doctors, and they go, have any of these other doctors taught you anything? And they go, not really. They just prescribe some drugs and tell me you see it. Then I go, purpose of the doctor is really to teach you how to better able keep yourself well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I want to go back really quickly to how you're describing the effect of this technique that you use, and how some people, it's like it can feel really overwhelming or very powerful, and they maybe break out in sweat, or they feel nauseous because of the life force energy is now flowing. So what are some signs other than physical pain, because that's kind of obvious that we have something going on, that our life force energy is not flowing?
Well, it can be a lot of things.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. If there's people that all of a sudden they get adjusted, and I've had people cry, believe it or not, I go through cases of tissues because people get embarrassed because they're crying, and I go, no, it's all right. It's all right. It's a release. It's actually good. It's actually really good. I said, don't be embarrassed. And it's like, it's not like I'm going to broadcast that, oh, Mary, you just cried, it's a release. And I've had people laugh. I've had people actually, start to fall asleep because they're so relaxed. But as far as other things, other than physical,
like maybe fatigue. That's still physical, but
well, the symptoms. See, symptoms really are symbols.
Mm-hmm.
Certain symptoms are symbols of some. See, a lot of the things I do know is that a lot of the symptoms, I can look at certain symptoms and view it as a certain symbol, and the symbol then is some sort of disconnect.
Sure.
Like an emotional disconnect.
Yeah. And so when because I watched some of your videos on YouTube, and I noticed you're checking the occipital lobe here. Is that
right? Yeah, the occiput.
Mm-hmm. and so you're doing you're sensing the energy, and you're assessing the body. And so I'm wondering, so with these like emotional releases, how is it that the energy of an emotion gets trapped and manifests physically in our body? Are you able to explain that?
Well, the one thing, most of the times the emotional cause doesn't come out on the first visit unless it's some big emotional trauma.
Yeah.
Usually it's second, third visit, and sometimes as long as a year. But for instance, I taught at a chiropractic college, and I was invited to talk about technique, and I was talking about my technique, and I said, one of the biggest things that I can detect is if there's an emotional cause. And, one of the students, at the end, one of the students raised their hand and asked me a question, goes, why is it important to, if it's an emotional cause? And I said, would you like to be constantly getting adjusted in the same area all the time? Because even though chiropractors are gentle, eventually you're going to hurt that person. Mm-hmm. Because what's happening is the emotional stress is pulling the bone out of place. And no matter how many times you adjust a certain vertebra or a certain bone in the body, it's going to pull out. Mm-hmm. And the emotional cause, or the emotional stress, pulls the bone out of place, causes our body chemistry to change, because there's stress hormones, and then also will change even your thought processes on things. I've had, for instance, I was in this discussion group, and this one person goes, if you read, I don't even know what the name of the book was, but if you read Dr. So-and-so's book, and it's how to eat correct, how to really eat raw food and all this other, it's a different diet, and it's helped, cure a lot of people.
Sure.
But I said, it's not that, it's not that easy, because I don't care what you eat, how you exercise, physically fit. If there's an emotional stress, your body is just not going to function underneath that. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've had a couple people that have come in my office, and they're very strict with their diet. They exercise probably 6 times a week. They're very physically fit, yet they have cancer. Mm-hmm. And these people, I mean, literally, they come in and they look like models. And then I check them out and I go, you need to forgive so-and-so 5 years ago, or so-and-so 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. And the other thing is too, a lot of times people will take certain supplements. They're prescribed certain supplements by other, holistic practitioners. And I said, and people have come in with literally, what do you call it? A grocery bag full of supplements.
Yeah.
hundreds of dollars of supplements. And I'd go, Dr. Keita, do you think I need these? And I go, I hate to tell you this, but you don't need these. Mm-hmm. You need to work on, your fear or your panic, the anxiety that you're having. Or I think, that one of the people, she had all these supplements, and she had a lot of anxiety over her childhood. Oh. And she's older, she's like, whatever, 30s or so. And I said, I don't care what you eat, how you exercise, if you hold on to these emotional stressors, nothing can help. Mm-hmm. And that's comes to really what the title, there is no such thing as a medical test for, you can't detect an emotion on x-ray. Like if somebody's in a state of panic, you don't look at the x-ray and go, oh, I see it. It's right by that third rib. There's fear I see right there. Or the urine test, they take a urine test and go, oh, you have elevated levels of anger in your urine. Or a blood test, you have, elevated levels of resentment towards somebody. You just can't detect that. And
Kevin, I think you and I would need to invent something that does, because, we would just be billionaires.
But even that, even with what I do, I thought, gosh, I could probably help a lot of people, really facilitate a lot of people to heal, almost 100%. Mm-hmm. But see, then that comes back to the whole ego thing, because a lot of times when somebody comes to my office too, I shouldn't say a lot, but some of the times that people come to my office, I might, if I said something to somebody, an emotional stressor, a lot of times they don't work on what it is.
Right.
They don't think that that's anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
So
that's what I was wondering. If you find that people don't necessarily want to work on themselves, or they don't necessarily want to heal themselves because maybe there's a unconscious or subconscious benefit to what, being ill or sick. Do you find that?
That's happened a few times where people come in. Actually, most of the time when that happens, these people disappear.
Yeah.
Because what happens, one person was just, she had like chronic low back pain, hip pain. This person was in really good shape. And she came in for one adjustment, and I adjusted her, and she goes, "Oh my God, I feel great." She walked out normal. Came back a second time. She goes, I feel really good. I took like a 3-hour walk, which I never could do over the weekend. She came back the next week. I adjusted her, and she felt, like even better. And I would say probably 99% of the people that come to my office are referred. And then all of a sudden she disappeared. And I said, "Oh, what happened to, Mary?" And this person said, "This might sound funny, but you helped her out so much that she wasn't getting the attention at work and through her family, because she needed to be, ill or have this illness to get some attention, because it was a self-esteem issue."
Yeah.
So that's pretty much like the answer to your question. A lot of people, there's a couple of people that have come in and they want to hold on to these things. The other thing too is, I've had people come in and I remember this one person. Gosh, I'll show you what this was. He had a shoulder injury for years, and he came in to see me. I adjusted him, and I said, "Well, this is 20 some years." What I picked out a date, say like I said, July of 1984. You need to forgive yourself, and it's over. It's something with another man, money issue or something. And he said that, he was in partners with another person in a business, and there was a money issue between the two. Right. So anyway,
and he was still holding on to that, huh?
So I said that, and then he goes like, "What does that have to do with my shoulder injury?" And I'm like, going, "Do I know you?" It's like I have no idea why. He goes, "What does that have to do with that?" And I go, "That's just what I'm picking up." And I said, "Do I know you? Did you write that down on your patient history?" And he goes, "No." I go, "It's pretty important."
You're like, your shoulder's talking to me.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's another, a lot of people don't really realize that or don't accept that. And that's really what my explanation is to a lot of people. Go, "You didn't tell me that. I don't know you. I don't know your past. I don't know what you've done or what your situation is." And then a lot of times I go, "Oh, what's that got to do with this?" Or the other thing, sometimes I say, pick something out, and certain times people will say, "Well, Dr. Keaton, I still have this one person goes, I still have this shoulder problem. You told me you could probably really help me out." And this person was traveling pretty far. And I picked out something, emotional thing. And she calls me up and says, "I don't think you really helped me out." And I go, "Okay, that's fine. There's plenty of chiropractors. There's probably 100 chiropractors between where you're driving from and coming to my office. But why are you coming to see me?" And he goes, "Well, I heard you're different. You can, detect these things." And I said, "Okay." And then I said, "Did you really work on what I had told you previously?" And she goes, no, I didn't think it was important. I go, what do you mean you didn't think it was important? I never would say anything if I didn't think it was important.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she actually took my advice and she did work on a little shoulder problem away.
Mm. It's amazing, yeah, how all this just kind of comes together and manifests in different ways in our life, in our bodies, and so super cool. Now let's talk about one of your books that you wrote. You wrote a book called Healing Journeys: Stories of Mind, Body, and Spirit. So why did you write the book? Let's tell me about that.
Well, just our little discussion here. Years ago, I was telling some of the patients coming in my office about all these different crazy stories that have happened. And of course they said, oh, why don't you write a book? And I'm like thinking to myself, I don't even know how to write. When I went to college, believe it or not, guess which class I had to take that was remedial? It was English.
Yeah.
So I'm like thinking, gosh, I don't think I could ever write. But then I thought to myself, that's I'm just affirming I can't write.
Yep.
So I said, no, I can. I'm a great writer or whatever. So I did find somebody to help me out, and then I wrote this book because all these other people told me, this would probably make a really good book because you have a lot of good stories.
Mm-hmm.
And what the book's about, it's about how your emotions affect your health. And I've never seen, and part of the reason why I wrote the book was because I've never seen a book like this before. And the reason behind it is because these are true stories. Most books that like are emotion based with health and things like that, they're just saying, oh, do this or that. They don't really give examples, real life examples. So that's what my book does. Mm-hmm. And the book is divided into 6 chapters because I see 6 major emotions in my office. Yeah. 6 major emotions are fear, anger, resentment, criticism. And then the 2 big ones are self-esteem and then forgiveness or being unforgiven. Mm. Self-esteem is a major one. Forgiveness is probably the biggest one. Those 2 will create the biggest problems that I've seen. People that have come in my office that have had cancer 100% of the time. This is not some huge research, but just from my own professional experience, 100% of the time somebody that has cancer, there's some forgiveness issue. They need to either forgive themselves or they need to forgive somebody else. Mm-hmm. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. And that makes a lot of sense because what do you have in your body? You have healthy cells and then cancer cells. So there's a separation. Sure. In a relationship, you have a healthy relationship and a broken relationship. And that's outside it. So you need to forgive either yourself. A lot of times, believe it or not, it is themselves that they need to forgive. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're our own worst critics.
Oh yeah.
As far as judging, most people will judge themselves more harshly than anybody else. Mm-hmm. Should I wear this? Should I wear that? I mean, my hair doesn't look good. But anyway, the forgiveness is a major thing when it comes to very chronic illnesses or very deadly diseases, for that matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's interesting because I've heard a lot about forgiveness lately, and when I kind of just thought about my own life, I'm like, I don't feel like I have anybody to forgive. But then the more I sat with it and really understood what that meant, I was like, wow, there's a lot of stuff that I could forgive. It's like we're holding on to that energy of that experience, and it's like releasing it. Completing the cycle and letting it go.
All right. I mean, and that's the most important thing. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs to release things and let it go before something that's a little snowball turns into this huge boulder. Mm-hmm. And then, it's a lot easier to break down a snowball than a huge boulder. It takes so much more energy. You know, if you're holding on to something, say, I don't know, 30 years ago or 20 years ago, it's much harder to release that rather than something that might have happened today, or like, because that's what I do every day is I forgive myself for any thoughts, deeds, or actions that I might have hurt somebody. Because a lot of times, you know, we don't realize we might have hurt somebody by something we said. It might have been a joke, but the other person might not have thought it was a joke. So I'll say that.
So say it again.
I forgive myself. I forgive myself for any thoughts, deeds, or actions that I might have hurt somebody else.
That's good.
And I forgive anybody for any thoughts, deeds, or actions that they might have hurt. You know, they might have done to me. And I do that every day. And the reason why I do it every day is just like you're saying, release it quickly.
Yeah, before it starts, kind of like you talked about the onion earlier. It's like before it starts festering and creating layer on layer.
Right. Yeah, this huge onion.
A stinky old onion.
Right.
So, yeah, okay. So what are the other like key takeaways from your book that you wanted the readers to get from it?
Well, a lot of pretty much, you know, what I was just saying, you know, you know, this is not like just, you know, you do it once and it's over. You know, you have to constantly, you know, work at these things. Forgive every day. If somebody, you know, don't let people control you. Like, for instance, somebody that might say something hurtful to me and angers me, I might say, you know, oh my gosh, you know, they must be really, you know, they must be right about me. But really what it's about the other person. And there's something going on in their life that they want to be hurtful to you.
Yeah. And I think we unconsciously take that energy on sometimes if we're not conscious or we're not aware of what's going on. Yeah. So
right. Yeah, that's a huge thing I learned. You have to be very, very conscious about how things affect you. You know, relationships. You know, every relationship you have, it's really for a learning experience.
Right. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Good, bad, and ugly.
Right. Whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
Every relationship, it could be even your dog or your cat, you know, there's some sort of thing you need to learn.
Yeah.
And if somebody hits like a sore spot on you, like for instance, gosh, you know, I'm so angry at, you know, Angela over something. But really, it's not you. It's something in me that I'm angry at something inside of myself. That like, for instance, like when somebody will hit a sore spot, you really kind of have to look at yourself and go, you know what? It's not Angela's anger. It's my anger that, you know, I'm putting out. And that's difficult to do because it's so easy. You know, one of the biggest takeaways from the book is, you know, it's so easy to just blame it on somebody else. Most people don't take responsibility for their own actions, their life, the way they feel. You know, you're in your present. You know, you're in your present position right now because your actions you did in the past. But if you keep blaming somebody else, guess what's going to happen? You just totally lost control of your life.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a main part of the book.
So I'm curious, is there anything else that you wanted to share with the listeners that you haven't had a chance to talk about yet?
Well, one of the things I've always was interested in, you know, how miracles happen. Because people go, oh, you know, all I need is a miracle or something. But really, a miracle, everybody, when you, like you said, when you're conscious, everybody has a miracle just about everybody does every day, if
yeah.
not more. Because when you wake up, that's a miracle.
Yep.
But really what a miracle is, it's a change in your perception.
I like that.
It's a change in the way you see things. If you see a certain situation, as somebody being just an angry person, you're always just going to see it that person that way. But if you see that person, I should be really, helping this person out because the reason why that person's angry is for this other issue that he's having in his life. And just looking at things differently, all of a sudden you'll see, not only that relationship change, but all the relationships in your life change.
Yeah.
So really miracles are changing your perception of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And most people don't see when somebody's has a so-called problem, most people don't back up and then look at it differently. Okay, what do I need to learn from this? Or how can I solve the problem without hurting somebody? Mm-hmm. or even yourself for that matter. Okay.
Well, and that's why I like, one of the big takeaways that I have for today is like something really practical I can do is what you said that you do every day. That phrase that you said about, not hurting others or not being hurt and forgiving.
Yeah. These things at the end of each chapter, I also have little exercises. And the things that I just told you, that's in the book. Mm. The book, Healing Journey, Stories of Mind, Body, Spirit is a very short book. It's only 120 some pages. It's very easy to read. There's no medical jargon. I rewrote it 26 times.
Wow.
Because like a lot of people, I've had people that are writers and they go, gosh, you should make your book longer. But to me, that was just their ego, like a book has to be long, but actually the reason why it's rewritten so many times was to make it as simple and easy to read. I've had people read this book like 30 times over, and they'll it's pretty funny. They'll come up to me and go, oh my gosh, I love it in the chapter when you said this. And I'm like, oh, wow, that sounds really good. I didn't know I wrote that. These people have the book memorized. They've gone to speaking engagements, and the person that invites me to speak at their group, I remember the one time I had a copy of the book, and I didn't realize she had put her copy of the book down on the lectern, the speaking lectern. So I opened up her book thinking it was my book, and I opened it up and go, oh my God, she had so many things highlighted and so many notes. And she goes, don't take that book. So there's it's really gratifying. I've had people, it was funny, after the book came out, I've had people come in the next week and they're in tears over the book. At first I thought they wanted their money back, but then they go, no, this book, it's like, I just love the way it's so simple and easy to read. And a lot of the stories really thought of myself in my certain situation.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's awesome. I think that is like what we all want when we put something out there, a book or a program. It's like we want to touch people's lives, and it sounds like you were really able to do that, and that's like such an amazing experience. So I'm wondering how people can get in touch with you if they maybe want to see you in person or if they want to get your book. How would they go about checking you out?
Well, my book, Healing Journeys, Stories of Mind, Body, and Spirit, it is on Amazon. You can easily search my name, Dr. Kevin Kita, and the book will show up. You can go to my website, drkevinkita.com, for more information. I have a lot of information there. I've had have my 2 different Facebook fan pages, one for my chiropractic office and one for the book. And you can follow me on Twitter.
You're a busy social guy.
You can see me on LinkedIn. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can see my videos on YouTube.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that, it's pretty funny because a lot of people go, "Oh, you're really into social media," but I was never into social media. I didn't really realize how powerful it was because I've really connected with a lot of people around the world through Facebook and Twitter. Mm-hmm. I mean, asking me different things, chiropractors. But even if you just Google my name, Dr. Kevin Kita,
you're like everywhere.
a lot of things will come up.
Yeah.
I mean, because a lot of people that like lost contact with me from high school or something, like, "Gosh, you're the easiest person to ever find." And I go, "Yeah, I better be good because I don't want anything bad coming up."
That's right. Yeah, and on your show page, I'm going to have links for all of your. I'm going to have links for everything, so they will be able to connect. You guys will be able to get his book and connect to him in all sorts of ways. Facebook, Twitter, say hello, all that good stuff. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Kevin, for joining me today. This was a really enlightening conversation.
Thanks for having me. This was a really good conversation.
Yeah. We were like all over the place, but it was fun.
I'm always all over the place.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, and now I'd love to hear from you guys. The most awesome discussions happen after the show over at theawakenedgoddess.com. So get yourself over there and leave a comment right now. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, subscribe to the show. And of course, it would be absolutely amazing if you shared this with all of your friends. And if you want even more incredible resources, join Spark Spiritual Academy to get this month's health and wellness collection of bonus content. And until next time, goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode of The Awakened Goddess. I hope you enjoyed today's show and took away something you can start using in your life right away. For more spiritual insights and to listen to more episodes, subscribe to The Awakened Goddess Show at thegoddessnextdoor.com and discover wisdom that'll change your life.